If we compare the abilities of each Nightfarer, where do they rank against each other? Hey everyone, I am the Bonfire Keeper and welcome to my channel.
All Nightfarer skills are very different from each other and serve different purposes according to their character. Not all of them are for doing damage. Some of them are movement based, while some of them are just there for support. So they cannot be judged on based on what they do. Instead, in this video, I ranked them based on how they perform in multiplayer runs. Do they help the teammates as well? Now this list does not include their ultimates and only their character skills because ultimates works a lot differently. If you have your own thoughts about which character skill is best, let me know in the comments. Now let's start at the bottom.
At the bottom of the list at number 8, we have Card Sword or Suncatcher. Now this one might seem odd because Executor's Card Sword can probably be the most powerful ability in the game. Because if you're good at parrying, you can parry basically everything in the game without taking a single hit. Card Sword is extremely good in a solo run, but the problem comes in multiplayer runs. Because to get the full benefit of the ability, you need the enemy to stay aggroed on you. Because even if you are able to successfully parry the attacks, you are not getting the chance to put the damage in with the L2 if the enemy changes target to your teammates after only landing 2 attacks on you. And Card Sword is also probably the only ability in the game that you actually need to learn to properly use it. If you are not good at parrying, it's not worth switching to a completely different weapon and not using that extremely good katana you got with your scaling dexterity. Whirlwind takes place at number 7 because Guardian is a support player through and through, and Whirlwind does nothing but solidify that. At first glance, Whirlwind seems very useful. It has really good crowd control and can send smaller enemies flying through the air, but its usefulness falls up pretty quickly. Because when are you going to fight a large group of enemies in Nightreign after you are done with the starter camps and you reach level 3 or 4? Because then you are only focusing on the bosses and Whirlwind's damage is not good enough reason to use it consistently. It does help to give you a small window to raise your teammates or give the bosses a slight stagger, but you do a lot more damage with a shield bash, which doesn't even require you to wait for the ability to recover so you can use it again. Whirlwind becomes a little more useful when you use it with the relic, which causes the tornado to last a lot longer, but otherwise when you compare it to the other abilities on the list, it struggles to compete with them. Then we have Claw Shot at number 6. Claw Shot is probably one of the most fun abilities to use in the game and is what makes Wylder such a fun character to use as well. But it also suffers from the same problem as the Card Sword, that is pretty much only useful for Wylder himself. It does help when your teammate is down with only 1 bar and you have the relic that let you use it twice in a row. You can revive your teammates from far away, and the relic that lets you do a follow up with R1 with a great sword also makes this ability a lot better. But on its base form, it is pretty much only useful as a movement ability, which in itself is great as it helps Wylder cover distance a lot faster, helping traversing the blue zone or even dodging any big AoE attack, but it doesn't contribute that much in benefiting your teammates. Magic Cocktail takes its place at number 5 because this was a hard one to place, since it's also directly linked with Recluse's passive skill. Since Recluse need to use it constantly to continue using any spell at all, would push this skill a lot higher for usefulness. But since I'm ranking them based on their usefulness in a team comp, that takes it down by a couple of notches. Magic Cocktail is still very useful in helping your teammates, since besides doing good damages, some of the cocktail mix also directly affect your teammates as well. Like the Magic Holy Mix that conserves AP use for both Recluse and her teammates, or the Fire Holy Mix that raises AP of everyone for a brief amount of time. And using Magic Cocktail solo is always a risk because since Recluse has basically negative poise during the animation, most of the time it results in her getting knocked out of it. So it's also easier to pull off quickly in a team comp when enemies are not aggroed on her. But the reason it isn't up higher because it's not always up to you on which elements you are going to absorb, since it also very much depends on what elements your teammates are using, or it's suddenly changing to a different element right before you are going to absorb it. Number 4 is Retaliate, or also known as the skill as ES. I am going to stand right here and tank everything you throw at me because I'm Raider and I don't care. Now Retaliate also has the same issue as Magic Cocktail, that is also directly linked with Raider's passive ability. But this time I can't separate the passive effect from the ability itself because it's a lot more directly involved, as in the Retaliate skill won't work without the passive. Unlike Recluse, who can still use the magic cocktail without using the AP generation passive buff. Retaliate helps Raider trade with any attacks in the game since he can't get knocked out of it during the animation, and also takes very little damage throughout it. Retaliate also has a big reach, covering a lot of ground. It also helps in reviving teammates, and if Retaliate has it charged or follow-up available, it also knocks down any enemy in the game. And Retaliate can be even buffed further with relics by boosting your attack power if you take damage while using the skill. It's extremely useful in solo playthrough and multiplayer playthroughs, making it such a useful skill in the game and taking a higher rank in this list. At number 3, we have Summon Spirit. Summon Spirit is the skill that gives Revenant the best chance to tackle larger group of enemies or harder camps out of all the squishier characters by making her a team on her own. The Spirit acting as teammates and taking aggro from her and letting her put in damage from afar makes this skill extremely useful. And even in team scenario, it helps massively if you have a team of all squishy characters, or even with Raider or Guardian by taking aggro from them also and giving them a break while still doing damage. And the Spirits also help with reviving your teammates as well, making it extremely useful in both solo and multiplayer runs. While the Spirits have their own drawbacks, with Helen not having a ton of health or Sebastian not having any mobility, they are still extremely useful and can do good damage, especially if they are buffed with Revenant's ult, which gives them their own ult, making Summon Spirit take a higher spot than the skills mentioned before. Restage takes its place as number 2 as the skill that has the chance to do the highest DPS out of every skill and even every ultimate in the game. Using it at the correct time, like right after the whole team did a big number of damage by popping their ults or any other big attacks, would replicate 50% of the damage dealt in the last 3 seconds. It also reapplies status effect build-up and stance damage dealt too. With relics, damage percentage can be boosted from 50% to 60%. And on top of that, Restage doesn't even have an animation window, making it a lot easier to spam in mid combo. Restage is extremely useful in a solo playthrough, but is even more useful in a multiplayer playthrough since it makes the chance of doing a bigger DPS a lot higher, making it take its deserved second place in the list. This one should not be a surprise that the best character in the game has the best ability in the game as well, as marking takes its place at number 1. This is not a controversial opinion. Ironeye has the options to be the strongest character in the game, and marking does nothing but amplify it. Once the enemy is marked with the weak spot, not only it takes 10% additional damage from everyone, once enough damage is dealt, the weak spot pops, making it take a big chunk of damage and a lot of stance damage as well. And while it's extremely useful in a solo playthrough, similar to Restage, it's way more useful in multiplayer playthroughs, since teammates also putting in damage makes the weak spot pops a lot faster, and keeping the enemy or the bosses constantly marked makes any fight a lot easier and a lot shorter. On top of that, marking also works as a dodge option for Ironeye, since it gives him iframe and making it a lot easier to quickly get out of any sticky situation. Marking does so many things at once, giving Ironeye an instant dodge, doing damage if dodged through the enemy, debuffing the enemy and making it take more damage, doing a big chunk of damage and stagger damage at the end, making it extremely broken. No other skill even compares to marking, and for that reason, marking takes its rightful place at number 1 as the best skill in the game.
Each Nightfarer has their own playstyle, and their abilities are what makes them more unique and different from each other. While some abilities do pull ahead of the others, doesn't mean the abilities at the bottom of the list are useless. They can still be extremely powerful in any situation and can offer a lot if it's used correctly. But that will be it for me today. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe for more Nightreign content in the future. Thank you, and I will see you next time.